This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Monday, December the 5th, 2022. We're so glad you could join us today. Coming up later on in the program, I'll visit with Ryan Jardon of John Deere, talking about some upgrades to steering that they're doing. We also have a check of your ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we're at the end of another trading day today, and we're going to turn to Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. Jacob, what did we see in today's trade?
Dustin, it was just a continuous sell-off here from last week. Technically, we came into the week with pressure from last week, and the markets just followed through on that. We ended up closing it down a nickel on the day in the corn market across the board. Even 2023 corn, we getting pretty comfortable below that $6 level now. So reached the highs of $5.99.5 these 23, but ended up down to $5.95 on the close. Soybean market saw pressure during the middle of the day. Ended up going back above the unchanged and closing positive on the day. But a pretty ugly trade in the bean market. We saw a 15-cent range. Spent most of the morning on the high side of it, but just couldn't hold those gains as we saw crude oil roll over. We watched bean oil continue to fall off. We're down another $2 in the soybean oil contract. So you're getting back to some of those September, October lows. And the wheat market just off of Russian production, off of Australian production. And the fact that we're just overpriced in these grains, and we're down 20-something cents across the Chicago wheat. KC's down 25, and in the spring wheat out in the Dakotas, they're down 20 cents as well. So, not a very good day in the grains.
So, looking at that soy oil, I mean, we know that the news hasn't been great for it, but I mean, is there a bottom in sight where this thing will just hit the brakes and finally just catch its breath for a little bit before it goes too crazy?
Well, I think the big fear right now is we've got so much anticipated bioenergy from biomass production planned, and those investments that people have made into that are on the questioning block right now for these companies, and so I think that's the big fear. If you look at ethanol, it's kind of followed the same. So the EPA they haven't changed their mind on global warming, on different carbon emission requirements, but the problem is how they're going to get to that level. And I think that the promises were made that it was going to be certain ways, and now that's not coming to fruition. So there's some big question marks as far as what kind of energy is going to be needed to do that. And so is there a bottom side? Obviously, yes. I mean, if you get to one point when it gets cheap enough and the crush gets good enough that that'll make more sense to continue to use biomass as that need. But where's that number at? And that's a good question right now. And you go back and just simply look at the charts around that $60 soybean oil in March. That's where it feels like we're headed towards. That's on the charts. Technically, that's the first stopping point.
So looking over the livestock side of things, have the markets been able to capitalize on some of this lower momentum with soybean meal and stuff?
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with weather too. Getting some okay rains out west. It's enough where we got some grazing patterns to hopefully change out, and we saw the cash kind of lead the way in the feeder cattle. Then, as you see, a little bit of pasture, a little bit of moisture come out west. You also see the corn market continuing to fall off. So you got some a good positive build in that feeder cattle, and I think they're the ones that have been rewarded the most over the last 2 weeks. If you look at fat cattle, live cattle have been led stronger cash market trade. You got production coming lower as we go forward into the Q1 of next year, and so there's some positive builds starting to happen out into the cash contract. Weights have come down a little bit, but the problem that you have and the things that are there to watch and what we're encouraging our producers to look at is we got some solid prices and some solid profits. We're not really confident on what we're going to see from the economy and from demand as we go forward here. exports have been just awesome and leading us for 2 years up in the fat cattle market. And in the last couple of months, been pretty weak. And so I caution everybody to get too optimistic just because you see some lower production coming, that we're going to continue to this move up. Hog market, continue to watch China, watch the back and forth that we're seeing from them and what their hog market's going to do, if they're going to let people out of the COVID restrictions. If that's the case, we can see some pretty explosive numbers there in the hog market. But for now, we're starting to see some cash back off as we're going into that time of year now where the builds for their the packers' inventories are there. They've been calculated, and now you're starting to see some of that downward pressure from seasonality.
Well, Jacob, a lot of great information as always. If folks want to pick the brains of everybody at agmarket.net, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Thanks for having me, guys. Anybody that wants to reach us can look at agmarket.net. Go in there, sign up for a 30-day free trial of our Intel package. And we would encourage you to look us up there on the About Us page. Look up our email addresses are there. Feel free to give us an email, give us a call on the number below there on the website. You can find all of our information. Thanks for having me, guys.
That again was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. Let's run down the closing numbers courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn down 5 3/4 at 6.40 1/2. May corn down a nickel at 6.42 1/4. December 23 new crop down 2 3/4 at 5.95 1/4. January beans off 3/4 cent at 14.37 3/4. March down 1 1/2 at 14.45 even. November new crop up down a penny at 13.76 3/4. January soy meal up $8 at 4.3210 per ton. Soy oil down $2.65 at 62.57. Chicago wheat down 22 cents at 7.39. Minneapolis down 19 1/4 at 9.02 and even. Kansas wheat 29 cents lower at 8.41 3/4. March oats down 22 at 3.35 3/4. December live cattle down 12 cents at 153.22. January feeders up $1.32 at 183.77. December lean hogs down 35 cents at 82.07. Pork cutouts down 22 cents at 89.60. Class 3 milk up 13 cents at 20.42. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I'll talk with Ryan Jardon of John Deere. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Many of you who grew up around tractors remember that when you're steering, especially down the road, there's always a little play in that steering wheel to keep things lining straight. You know what I'm talking about, just turning it ever so slightly just to keep the wheels aligned. But what if I told you that was a thing of the past? We talk with Ryan Jardon of John Deere to find out what they're doing on a new model tractor. All right, we're talking with Ryan Jardon. He is the go-to-market manager for John Deere for their tractors and tillage. And Ryan, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us yet again today.
You bet. Good to see you, Dustin. Thanks for having us.
So we were up in Davenport a couple weeks ago. We had the chance to also talk about some new upgrades to your tractors, especially when it comes to steering. Tell us a little bit about what farmers can expect coming out with this new model year coming out.
You bet. Yeah, so with what we call model year 23.5 or a mid-model year update for our model year 23 tractors, on the 7Rs, 7 Series tractors specifically, we've made some enhancements in the steering of those machines. And so all the customers are going to get a larger capacity steering system on those machines. And so that's basically we've made the hydraulic steering, hydraulic cylinders larger. We've made the valves larger that feed the oil to those steering cylinders. And that's to really help steering at slow speeds, especially under heavy loads, like if you're running heavy front loaders or maybe a triple mount mower conditioner, things like that, or moving bales in and around the barnyard where maybe you're running slower. And you got a heavy load on the front, it'll help those wheels turn a lot easier on the front, give a lot better steering system feel for a customer. The other thing we've come up with, or the other thing that we've released, is a feature called Reactive Steering. And Reactive Steering is basically where when it's on and you're driving down the road with the tractor, it wants to return itself to neutral position or return itself to center. And so similar to how when you're driving an automobile, you don't have to give it a whole lot of effort on the steering wheel to keep it pointed straight down the road. The 7R tractor will basically drive essentially just like that to where it'll want to keep itself centered as it's going down the road. So customers that are running a lot of silage wagons or manure tanks, things like that, doing a lot of transport work up and down roads, it basically lessens the amount of input that a customer or that a driver has to give to that machine as it's going down the road. So yeah, that's available on the mid-model year 23 7Rs, and so it's available to order today.
So I'm sure, all of us remember that little bit when you're driving down the road and you have to wiggle the wheel just a little bit to keep it, that'll be, gone essentially. But how's that going to work like if you're out there doing tillage in the machine? And will that also help reduce, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of movement around because it's the nature of the beast when you're doing field work. But is that going to really help cut that down there as well?
Yep, so reactive steering will primarily give you advantage when you're on the road. A different feature that we call active command steering too would help more in the field, and that's where it gives you better control when you're in field doing a tillage job or seeding, planting, things like that. Active command steering is available today as well, and that helps to give the operator good control when you're driving in an in-field condition.
Now, is there any thought about, I know some of the technology you guys bring out, you sometimes will retrofit it to older models. Is there some kind of plan to maybe do that in the future as well?
This one for now is currently on new production machines, but yeah, we're open to feedback, and if customers, have a lot of feedback on it, obviously it's something we can take a look at.
All right, so folks want to find out more about the steering capabilities and learn more about that 23.5 model year 7Rs. Tell us where we can get all that information.
Yep, so first place to go would be your local John Deere dealer. They're equipped with all the tools, resources, and everything to check that out. Also visit us at johndeere.com for any info on it, and then we've got a really nice video on YouTube as well that helps customers understand about reactive steering and what we've done for the model year 23.5 7Rs.
That again was Ryan Jardon of John Deere. Now let's take a look at our ag weather outlook. Well, we started off with a cloudy sky, a few peaks of sun here and there in Des Moines, but they were few and far between. Now, we could see some snow flurries coming up in parts of the state. Where is that going to happen? Well, let's find out from the National Weather Service as we see the forecast for the next 24 hours. As we said, we saw mostly cloudy skies, maybe a few breaks of sun here and there. Temps today were in the low 30s to about the mid 40s. We saw those warmer temperatures in the central and southern parts of the state. Now tonight, mostly cloudy skies will continue across the state. There'll be some chances of snow flurries in the northwest. We'll see lows in the mid-teens to the upper 20s. And then tomorrow, we'll see snow along the northern counties, but that'll taper off to mostly cloudy skies through the day. Light rain will be falling along the Mississippi River in places, but mostly cloudy elsewhere in the state. And we'll see highs tomorrow in the mid-30s to the low 40s. Looking at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will start out with some snow and then see partly sunny skies in 34. Shenandoah partly sunny in 39. Des Moines partly sunny 37. Waterloo also starting out with a few flurries and then go into mostly cloudy skies in 35. Albia mostly cloudy 37. Clinton will be mostly cloudy with a chance of sprinkles throughout the day and 41 degrees. For more detailed forecasts in your area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been our Ag Weather Outlook. And with that, we're at the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. While you're there, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on TikTok and YouTube. And at YouTube, you can subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified anytime we put out a new video project. You can also check out our free Twice Daily Market podcast through Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.